Hold on, bear with me one moment.
I
Just
think
to
we're
make you aware, Susie, I've jumped in and I'm recording, so the recording is happening from my computer now, so Sandy.
all right.
Just
Make
took
sure
a
I go,
little
Andy.
second. I think you can share
Anyway,
this, it's working perfectly. Thanks.
so
What's
anyway, when I was 8, we come home from the pool. My parents are having a big fight. Um, my mom had a butcher knife in her hand, trying to stab my father, and I grew up feeling emotionally responsible for my parents' happiness. I thought they were fighting about me. I thought my mother was trying to get away from my dad to kill me because I was ruining the family. That's just a message that I got. The really crushing blow came when I was 12. So I turned 12 on December 22nd, 1974. And my mother gave my workaholic, depressed father an appointment to a psychiatrist for his Christmas gift. So on the first Monday after Christmas holiday, my father went to the psychiatrist. He immediately was transferred to a mental hospital where he remained for 9 months getting shock therapy. When I came home from school, I asked my mother in the kitchen, what happened to dad? What does mental illness mean? What are they doing to him? And when is he coming home? I was terrified. I did not understand what was happening. My mother mumbled, standing over the sink, you're the one that drove him crazy. So I just want to convey to you, I had felt responsible for them for my whole childhood. What I did when my mother said that is I went into my room, I loaded my deer rifle, I put it in my mouth, I put my finger on the trigger, and I was done. I was ready to check out. And I have these nephews who worshiped me. Just as I was depressing the trigger, I saw their faces weeping at my funeral. I chose not to pull the trigger. 71 days later, I'd only been 12, just a few weeks. I found alcohol. Alcohol actually helped me survive. Um, my life was really a mess. I pursued alcohol and drugs until I was 24. That's when I got in recovery. I just happened to go to a treatment center that was across the parking lot from the mental hospital my father was in. I set about trying to control the treatment center to protect my father. They sent me to a halfway house. In that halfway house, um, well, the guy that helped me get into treatment, he was my academic advisor in college. And he preached about don't drive drunk. He would bring the cops to our classes. They would give us their home phone numbers. They would say, call us if you need a ride. 3 months into my sobriety in the halfway house, that guy, Maurice Stone, was killed by a drunk driver. It was devastating to me. Tom Hickey, who ran that halfway house, told me in October of 1987, if you knew what had happened to you as a kid, you would have nightmares. Well, it turns out Tom was right. But it's taken me a long time to get to the feelings of my inner children. The reason I show you these pictures is that every morning when I meditate, I look at these pictures. I talk to these parts of myself. I tell them it was not your fault. You did not do anything wrong. You are a child of the creator of the universe. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are innocent. You are perfect. You are loving and you are kind. I am sorry for what you went through. I am here for you now. And I have a higher power who helps me to love you completely unconditionally. So in '89, I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. I had a really good job. I lasted 3 months because I was so manipulative and so cunning, they couldn't put up with me. I ended up going to treatment in Minneapolis, Minnesota for sexual addiction. That's where I had my first incest memory. And for the first time, my entire life made sense. But it's taken many years for me to go to therapy and work on those memories. I was going to AA meetings and to therapy about being sexually abused and watching Don Bradshaw on public television and in AA meetings and after meetings. I was told to shut the fuck up about my childhood. That has nothing to do with sobriety. Someone said early on in the meeting they survived AA. So did I. When I went to my first ACA meeting, it was the early 90s and there wasn't a red book. It just didn't help me. But I got married to another adult child that lasted 18 years. And basically, I chose to drink again after 24 years of sobriety so that I would have the courage to get a divorce. I did that. I went through financial ruin. I came to ACA in 2015, like November, December. I got sober in 2016. I've used the yellow book, the red book, and the trace workbook extensively. Um, I'm also going through Pete Walker's complex PTSD book and the Tao of Holy Feeling. I need a time check. I'm really not clear how much longer I have.
You have an unlimited share, Tom.
Well, but I didn't want to go more than say 20 or 30 minutes.
Take as much time as you like.
Okay. So, what I went into detail is that the world of my inner children and the feelings from my childhood, it is not a theory. I've been to a place called On-Site Workshops twice. It's experiential therapy where you act out scenes from childhood to feel the feelings of the inner children. I've done a workshop with John Bradshaw when he wrote this book, Homecoming. I've done a ton of work, but now, after 36 years of recovery, I feel the feelings of my inner children, and it is very intense. However, while I sometimes do not feel safe at meetings, I do feel safe when I'm alone and when I have solitude and when I commune with my personal higher power. And I know the steps it took me, I had to go through them a number of times to get to the feelings. When I first did the yellow book, I could write literally a sentence to answer the questions. I just kept doing it, and I kept doing the trace workbook. And I am the type 2 rescuer detailed in the trace workbook. I have a compulsion to help people and to fix people and to save people. It does not serve me any longer because as a type 2 rescuer, I help people with conditions. When they do not meet my conditions, I flip to the perpetrator. Then I run them off and I'm alone and I'm the victim again. It's a constant cycle. Victim, perpetrator, rescue, it's insane. And the traits workbook helped me tremendously to address how am I acting as a victim in this relationship? Or in this other relationship, how am I acting in a dominant way in trying to control someone and be a perpetrator? I really don't know that I have anything to offer other than my story and my experiences with the tools of ACA. Beyond that, I'm really not clear on how to help other people. I do see how my experience can benefit others, but I do not understand how to help other fellow travelers outside of the framework of listening to their pain without any commentary whatsoever, and to let people have the freedom to find their own path to healing. This program is much deeper than other programs, much, much deeper. And I want to read two things as I conclude. It is at the bottom of page 626 in my version of the Big Red Book. This is in Appendix A, which is written by Marty S. It's an incredible chapter. But at the bottom of 626 is a letter from Bill Wilson to a friend, which according to Marty was written sometime in the summer of 1956. Now, I would like to say this. Maybe Bill did author the 12 steps. Maybe Carl Jung said God as you understand God to make it a personal, transformational, spiritual experience. But Bill's a very disturbed guy. He was an adult child, in my theory. Never met the guy, but just reading what he wrote, I'd like to share this. Bill, in a letter to a friend, wrote about deepening AA's moral inventory to focus on what he called psychic damage. It may be someday that we shall devise some common denominator of psychiatry, of course throwing away their much abused terminology, common denominators, which neurotics could use on each other. The idea would be to extend the moral inventory of AA to a deeper level, making it an inventory of psychic damages, relieving in conversational episodes. I suppose someday a Neurotics Anonymous will be formed and will actually do all this. He later suggests the inventory be about actual episodes, inferiority, shame, guilt, anger, so they could be relieved in the mind and their power reduced. The true non-neurotic self could then emerge out of hiding. I'm just stunned that Bill wrote that. And here we are, all these years later, with all of the literature of ACA. It's stunning. It is stunning what it does for someone like me. I languished in other programs for almost 30 years looking for a way to heal my childhood. And guess what? I found it. And part of how I got sober is in 1985. I had a very serious motorcycle accident, and the doctors were going to amputate my leg. And I told them no. They wanted to do it to save my life. Somehow, I had a vision in my mind of throwing the frisbee and the football in a field of grass with my leg intact. I have no idea where that came from. The only explanation I have is that when I was 12 years old and I was ready to kill myself, my personal higher power came to me with those visions of my nephews. My personal higher power appeared to me in my hospital room after the doctors left, and it was a brilliant white light, and he told me, you can be at peace. Everything is going to be okay. Your leg will heal. I have plans for you. and then the light disappeared. I had no clue what the hell was going on. And I not only had an infection in my leg, but I had no pulse. All the blood, my leg was crushed by a car between the car and the motorcycle. The next day, I had a pulse in my leg. The doctors could not believe it. I am a walking miracle. And I do want to offer this as I close. I've got a lot of work to do, guys. I've got a lot of healing to do. But there are certain people who have written certain things that really inspire me. And this is a guy named Joseph Campbell talking about something written by Friedrich Nietzsche. It's in the book Will to Power, which I can't really understand, but someone talking about what Nietzsche wrote kind of helps me. Nietzsche was the one who did the job for me at a certain moment in his life. The idea came to him of what he called the love of your fate. Whatever your fate is, whatever the hell happens, you say, this is what I need. It may look like a wreck, but go through it as though it were an opportunity, a challenge. If you bring love to that moment, not discouragement, you will find the strength is there. Any disaster you can survive is an improvement in your character, your stature, and your life. What a privilege! This is when the spontaneity of your own nature will have a chance to flow. Then, when looking back at your life, you will see that the moments which seem to be great failures, followed by wreckage, were the incidents that shaped your life you have now. You'll see that this is really true. Nothing can happen to you that is not positive. Even though it looks and feels at the moment like a negative crisis, it is not. The crisis throws you back, and when you are required to exhibit strength, it comes. That's really all I have. Thank you.